All right, welcome to Panakal Podcast for Geeks, a show about good friends hanging out, talking about things we all love. See?
There
Point
you
to
go.
memory. Y'all know my co-host Andrew Sides, who may or may not
I,
flip, as we always do in the middle of the show. And our guest today is Malina. Is that correct? She goes
Yep.
by Voidbug online and all her socials. We figured we'd have you on the show because I really like your artwork because I've seen it in person multiple times. And then I really enjoyed you as a person too. You're very interesting to talk to because you have all these cool little stories. Like I mentioned it before we went live about your travels, and it kind of shows like all the different things you've seen, all the different things you've done. I think it's interesting when you meet an artist who's traveled as much because you can see some of those, like when you look at their work and you're like, where does this come from? Why does this make this unique? So I don't know if it has anything to do with some of the being in Asia and some of the studies there.
I didn't study it.
Okay, no, that's why I'm asking. Obviously, you know,
Oh, okay, gotcha. No, I was like,
or
so,
influences maybe is a better word.
yeah, sure, yeah, that's probably like the better, because I was like, well, I was born in Germany. I don't remember any of it because I lived there for about 2 years. My dad's like was military, so that's kind of like why we were moving around and whatnot.
Yep.
And then we moved to Japan. And part of the reason why is because like my mom is Japanese, so it's like she wanted, uh, me and my brother to be like raised with her culture as well. So, but we like lived there not too long for about like 4 years before like coming and moving to the States.
Mm.
Like first moved to Florida, and then we moved
oh my
to
god.
That's where Andrew lives, by the way.
Yeah, that's where I live. Where in Florida? Do you remember?
yeah,
Hmm?
Tampa, Florida.
Oh,
Tampa.
Tampa. Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
like I'm in Orlando, so that's like
Oh,
hour
okay.
and a half. Yeah,
Yeah, completely different places, but yeah, that was nice.
I mean, that's when
Tampa
like
was
Florida used to be, let's say, kind of cool. And now
it's never
was
been
it?
cool.
It was never been cool. All right, never mind.
I would say that. I probably was young to really understand what cool was.
Sure.
um, but yeah. But I mean, I like the weather there a lot. I definitely am like a warm weather type of person. I'm kind of like I like the tropics a lot, so it's like it kind of sucks that I'm like living in Wisconsin now, and it's like the
Oh
weather
my
like
god.
I didn't know you're in Wisconsin. You're not that far. I'm in
Like
Chicago.
yeah, just like the Midwest weather
yeah,
constant.
I
it's,
like the
it's
Midwest weather. I just but the
Yeah,
thing
but
is
don't you
like I
guys
don't
get
like today's been the weather outside was 17 with a real feel of 9. Like
yeah,
oh, see,
that
I
I
feel like you guys get like an inverse of what I get, where like we get 2 weeks of nice, cool weather, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, it's great," and then it gets like super hot and like unbearable. And I feel like you guys get like 2 weeks of like really nice, warm weather, and then you get just winter.
well, yeah, like when I was growing up my cousins would always say there's only 2 seasons in Chicago. It's winter and construction.
Oh
And
my
because
god.
it's just perpetually cold. And like, I had this conversation over Thanksgiving where I was like, people are like, you're conditioned for the weather. You're from Chicago. I'm like, here's the thing. Yes, I am conditioned to live in the cold. I can handle it. Doesn't mean I want to stand in it for hours, right?
Mm.
Like today, I didn't even want to go get my kid from school today. It was so cold outside. And I was just like, damn, I gotta go get her. Like, how is she gonna get home if I don't get her? And the
yeah.
whole time I was like, get in the car, come on.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not gonna get used to this weather, honestly. Like, I I don't know. I miss like warmer weather a lot. Like, I like the snow kind of like in an aesthetic sense, but like I never liked driving in the snow because
So
I'm an English, so.
how come you moved to Wisconsin when instead of a warmer
Oh,
area?
it was to live with like Tim.
Oh, you're in
Uh,
the Bond house? Oh, you were in
yeah,
the Bond house?
yeah. So, cause like okay, so before that, I didn't even like
Yeah, yeah,
where
yeah.
else I live, but after Florida, so like I lived in Florida up until like the middle of sixth grade, and then I moved to Virginia.
Mm.
And then Virginia was where I lived most of my life. So it's like
Ooh,
Virginia kind of feels like my home base, I guess.
Sure.
Or like just where like if anyone asks me where I grew up, I would say Virginia. But it was because of Tim, he invited me to live in the Vaughn house and whatnot, and so I moved up there. And now I'm living in Milwaukee.
Were you?
So
I
Oh,
wonder if
nice.
you were at this. So I met Tim at the same time I met Andrew for the first time, which is Spectrum.
yeah.
Oh,
Hmm.
you met him at
So I
huh.
met Tim, Key. I don't remember if Pui was there. I met Tim and Key because they were like across from each other. I was
Yeah.
literally 2 spots away from Key during Spectrum, and so like then I got to know all of them better because during the award ceremony they were just like artists to watch out for, new young artists to look out for. And Key won an award. Actually, Andrew, I think that was the second to last one because she won the year after too.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry, they won the year after too, and because I remember the year after was the one where I was invited to war. No, you're right. You know what? The year after is when they merged with Planet. So
Yeah, they
you and
had
I,
like that
yeah,
weird spectrum inside
yeah,
Planet.
right. So Andrew and I met at the last time when it was actually Spectrum, waiting in line to get portfolio reviews from art directors, and I was trying
Mhm.
to get a portfolio review from Lauren Panpinto, if you know her, and they capped her line. So I stepped into this line with Zoe Robinson, and Andrew was in that line for some reason.
Yeah. S
And then I remember Lauren called
yeah.
me. I just remember the story because Lauren calls me out in the middle of it saying, "What are you doing in line?" I was just like, I was trying to get a portfolio review. There we go. Look, it switched. It just did it. You coughed and it switched.
Oh, is that because I just
I
muted
don't
myself?
know, man.
Oh, sorry.
It's just the magic of the show. It just happens every once in a while. Andrew either sneezes or
I
coughs,
I
and
was I was trying
both
to
our
be
screens
polite and,
just
like, just mute
swap.
myself so I wasn't gonna be so, like,
I
loud
don't
and
mean
gross
shit, man.
on the mic.
Um, I think that's hilarious. But either way, Lauren was like, "Why are you in line?" And I was like, "I'm waiting for a portfolio review from you." And she was like, "You don't need to wait in line. We're friends. You can just talk to me." And I had no idea that she considered me at that level. So I was just like, "This is awkward." And I didn't want to look over my shoulder because all these people in line behind me were just like, "Who's this guy? Why does he get special treatment?" But after that, I just started hanging. I talked to Andrew a lot more, and then you and I hung out at LuxCon.
Mhm. Yeah,
I don't
was
know if it was
that
the same
later
year
that
or the
year
year.
as well?
Yeah, I think it was later that year. We
Might
were
have
all at
been.
the DoubleTree, and then we just
Mhm.
and then one day while I was working on the show, I asked him if he was interested in co-hosting with me. And I've had several people kind of step in and co-host, but Andrew's actually really easy peasy and it's easy to talk to, and he's got
Yeah.
opinions which I enjoy, and they're not exactly the same as mine. I didn't want someone who has the same opinions as me, right? So um, it just worked out. And then yeah, Malina, you and I met at OhioCon, which I
Okay.
don't know if that show's happening this year because it seems like a clusterfuck.
Yeah, I heard about the stuff that's going down. It's wow.
So so
I mean,
the
that's, like, is are the organizers for OhioCon the same people who are doing YomaCon?
that I don't know. All I do know what I So here's the thing. Apparently the Discord channels where all this stuff went down and I missed it because I had left the Discord channel after the show ended last year.
Oh.
But what happened? What I believe for what I've heard, and I don't know all the details obviously because I didn't deep dive on this, but the people running that show, they might be the same people running that and other show you just mentioned. They decided they're doing a lot of work and they wanted to unionize. And
Mm.
when they went to unionize, the board that's in charge of them was like, "No, you can't do that," and was like,
What
it
they
sounded
mean
like
they
they
can't do that?
well, it sounded like they fired everybody. And these are people who are like helping them, right? Like um running the show. And the board took over the show. But then I think they realized we don't know what we're doing. Like we can't run the show because these individuals did it.
God.
So now they're in talks to make deals again. And as of 2 weeks ago, negotiations aren't going well. But then 3 days ago, we all got messages saying, "Hey, you're in OhioCon," and it came from the lady who normally runs it. Her name's Nicole. So I was like, "Oh, they figured it out."
Mhm.
Because the show's like affordable. It's like $180 or $200 for a table. And our friend Andrew Thompson lives in Ohio, so we all just stay at his house. You know, and you work 3 days and make decent money. But
Right, right.
so I was excited because it came from Nicole, but I guess she is reluctantly helping. Because she voiced an opinion saying something like, "I understand that some people like a lot of people are like saying don't do the show, ban the show, don't do the show because of the way they're treating the artists, because of the way they're treating these people." And I was like, I get it, but some people need to work. Like,
Mhm.
I was like, I need to. If the show's happening, I probably need to do the show because I have bills to pay at the beginning of the year, and so Nicole basically, a lot of artists voiced this similar opinion, I guess, and she agreed, and then apparently everyone got mad at her, like, how dare you tell them to come work, blah blah blah. I'm like, like, are you guys so cash heavy that you don't have to do a show every year? Like, I don't know. OhioCon is good for me, but I mean, I don't know. I'm probably gonna do it and see how it goes. I'm hoping in the next 2 weeks the negotiations are figured out. I don't know.
Cleared out, yeah.
Apparently, because you have 2 weeks, because
That
we all have 2 weeks to pay if we want to do the show.
you know what's wild? It's the same story with every fucking company that does this kind of shit. Is like
Yep.
if they just recognized the union and did exactly what they're asking for, they wouldn't have to deal with any of this shit. Instead, they decided, all right, let's shoot our foot off and fire
Right.
everyone.
Well, that's what I was saying to Andrew and them the other day on the call. I was like, every single show we work has some bullshit that we need to. Even Gen Con, even
Yeah.
Dragon Con, like it's not like good or bad. It's just depending on who runs it. There's a corporate entity involved, or there's a volunteer entity involved, right? In the case of Dragon Con, I believe there's both. In the case of Gen Con, it's very corporate. There's hoops you have to jump through that you may not agree with.
Who does anyone in particular own Gen Con, or is that its own entity?
I think it's its own thing. But
Okay,
like
yeah, that's
you do
so. I
like
always
Emerald
wondered that because I
City.
don't think it's owned by Repop or anything like that.
Mm-mm. Yeah, but you do like C2E2, New York Comic Con, Emerald City. That's all Repop. Even the new Star Wars. Oh, what do they call it?
Yeah.
Star Wars Weekend or whatever. That's all Repop now, and Repop has got so much crap to deal with.
Wait, sorry, they own or they run the Star Wars celebrations
Yeah,
now?
they bought Celebration, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean they got
Fucking
money. But back to
fucking
Malina,
nerders.
because
Yeah,
we
I'm
can
not
talk
gonna
about
go down
shows
this
all day.
rabbit hole.
We can go back to
Y
shows later if you want.
yeah.
But
Yeah, Melina, do you do a lot of shows? I know you guys met in the past, but, like, do you still do shows or have you shifted?
No, I still do shows. I want to sort of like not do that as many because it's like a lot for me, and I feel like I'm the
Yeah.
sort of can't really handle too much stress. Like I
yeah,
literally physically can't. Like I get like these recurrent like cold sores on like my lips or something, and they've been
from
getting
stress.
yeah,
Hmm.
and they're definitely like triggered by stress and whatnot. So it's like going to these shows, like I enjoy them a lot, but it's like I can't
The
handle.
headaches. Yeah.
Yeah,
You do.
exactly.
You tend to do more like. So I looked at your list of shows. There's like 4 or 5 shows on there I've never even heard of. So I was just like, oh, that's cool. Because I'm always curious, like where. Because obviously there's like at any given time there's a show happening almost every week, right? Like
Mhm.
you really like
Mhm.
if you there used to be a company called Tanya knew this one Pandasaurus something or something with a dinosaur name, and it was literally a whole list of shows happening all over
Mm.
globally, right? And so you can literally look at that and be like, I live in London. What shows are in London? And the problem was nobody was upkeeping it, so it just fucking fell apart. But
Mhm.
so like, do you primarily do like anime conventions or because they all look like anime cons to me, minus like
Yeah, most of them are anime cons. I don't. I
okay,
feel like so comic cons are kind of like hit or miss for me.
yes,
Yeah.
same.
Um, I haven't. I feel like I haven't done one that was like really, really good for me in a
Have you?
while.
Yeah, Comic Cons are the same for me. They're just like, they're okay.
I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, I was gonna say Alan knows my history with them. Like, I just stopped doing conventions because
Yeah,
I
you're
felt like
just,
I was not a
but
good
you
fit
do really
whatsoever.
well with like, you do a lot of like advertising stuff. I think you do really well there, and then
Yeah,
freelance you get
like,
into
I'm
is really
more
good.
freelance than I am,
Yeah,
like, direct to consumer, but, like, I'm assuming, Melina, you're more direct to consumer than you are, like, freelance or anything like that?
yeah. I what you call like an independent artist, which
Mhm.
we're exactly what, like you said. I feel like I don't know. I feel like with the way I work, I tend to be more like I want to do my own thing, and find it hard to sort of like, uh, I do sometimes do client work, but it's like rare.
Hmm.
I got you.
Yeah.
I'm getting burnt out on doing. I don't do as much freelance as Andrew, but the very little amounts of freelance I've done, I'm always excited when I start, and then I'm just like, I never want to do this
Oh, see, like I always have. This is at least how I know that I'm like well suited for it because like I'll always have like an initial panic to be like, oh fuck, I don't think this is gonna work
again.
out well. And then as soon
Hmm.
as I nail like the thumbnail or something within the project clicks,
Hmm.
and once it clicks, I'm like, oh okay, I've got this. This is gonna be great. I can't wait to
Yeah,
see this
I
done. It's
have
gonna be
that from
awesome.
the jump. Like the current project from the jump, I was like, oh, this is great. Everything's going smooth, and then now I'm literally like three
But
illustrations from the
then
end, and
I was gonna say
it's
you either
struggle
have to
bus.
either ride it through a really long project like what you're doing right now, or
Hmm.
you have to ride that high through your third or fourth revision where the client's asking for some crazy ass shit and it's like totally
Hmm.
different from the initial thing. You're like, cool, I still like this thing, but it's not what I'm gonna put in my full portfolio at the end.
That's the
Mhm.
problem, right? When you're like, I can't use this anywhere. I just did all this work. Like I've
Oh,
done some
you could.
freelance, maybe.
Unless they oh, okay, like there's one client right now that I can't name who it is exactly because of like NDAs and stuff right now, but like they have a stipulation in their contracts where I can't share earlier versions of the work at all,
Mm.
and I can't even share the work unless it gets published. If it gets published, then I can share the final that was submitted.
Hmm.
Um and like we could talk about that off the air and stuff because like yeah, it's a very specific use case.
Yeah, I've had stuff where they're just like you can't share anything until it's approved, and if it's not approved, it's just lost to the aether, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, and there's like
I mean, if you're paying me
I've
for the job, it's like if you pay me enough, whatever, I'll keep my mouth shut.
yeah, and I've dealt with that too. Like not as specific as it's instances, but I have dealt with that, and half the time it's either all right, it's lost to the ether anyway, or I'll just put it in like the password protected part of my website later,
Yeah,
being like it's fine. Like the only other people that are going to act, it's not like that's open to the public. It's like the only other people that are accessing that are like people that I'm trying to scout
trying
for
to hire you
jobs.
more. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Have you, Melina? Have you tried to get any gigs at Gen Con? I feel like your stuff would look cool on a board game.
yeah,
I
I
don't
like your digital work a lot.
really, like, specifically go out to do that or anything like that. No, just because like I
You
like
don't
well,
want to do it.
yeah, I honestly don't.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I get
It
it.
really isn't my thing. Like I feel like I struggle a lot with like
Excuse me.
so um I've been taking these sort of personal commissions lately, but only because like so right now I'm doing like a lot of like fairy artwork,
Hmm.
specifically like butterfly and like moth fairies.
Yeah.
And so I have had like a few people reach out to me for commissions that were of like specifically like fairies, like the stuff that I have been doing. And those I have taken just because it's like, oh yeah, that's actually something I'm actually enjoying doing anyhow. So like I kind of make that exception for right now, but like other than that, it's like I almost like never take commissions. It's just too much for me.
Are are these series are they all done traditionally?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Really?
I,
Are
I have
watercolor, acrylic? What is your poison?
watercolor.
Oh
I
wow.
That's
have a
hard,
brand.
man.
Yeah, you're getting like a really, really nice glow in a lot of these.
Yeah. Yeah. So I use like a watercolor, like it's like there's like this Japanese brand of watercolor called Pentel, but it's like a kid's watercolor set or something like that. Really
Okay.
good because like I feel like the colors are more opaque than your traditional watercolor, but it's still
Hmm.
like I feel like it's not quite the same as gouache because I feel like gouache is very like I started working with it a little bit and I realized that it's like very, I don't know, it feels very different from watercolor. Like it's very like um
I wonder
It's
what
not
it's
I,
as
made from.
translucent. There's a
yeah,
lot of pacifiers in it.
yeah, it's like it's not as translucent and somehow you can't like blend it as well as you can with like watercolor.
No. Yeah, there's like it can be you can blend it, but it has to be done a very specific way, different
Yeah.
from watercolor.
Yeah, it's like it's totally different and it like surprised me because like I'm so used to working with watercolor and I'm like constantly like blending things and whatnot. And so like and I tend to like very blended like gradients, you know, that sort of thing a lot. So when I started working with gouache, I was like, what the heck? I thought this was gonna be the same thing, but like more
Yeah,
opaque. It's not.
like
So yeah, it's interesting. Like I kind of want to transition into doing something like maybe not like do a full transition, but like I'd like to explore like other mediums too sometime in the future. Just because like the way I use watercolors feels so like I don't know. Sometimes I kind of like overwork the paper because like I like layering so much and I like really intense colors.
yeah, because
And
you like your stuff's got some glow, man. Like
yeah,
I'm looking at it. That's what I'm doing right
yeah.
Do you know Eric Fortune's work at all?
I am not familiar with that name at all now.
You should look him up. So like he works in acrylic, but the way he works in acrylic is like a lot of like fine washes and stuff, like the same way you do watercolor.
now.
And yeah, like I'm pretty sure he started in watercolor and switched over to acrylic because if you do that in acrylic, then you don't have to ever worry about accidentally lifting up
Yeah,
your surface or anything like that. So
yeah.
yeah, no, he gets these like incredible like gradations and like soft transitions in his work.
What's
Um,
his name? Eric
Eric
Fortune.
Fortune, yeah,
Fort. Okay. I'll have to yeah, I'll have to like look him up more because like I do enjoy that sort of like the working with like different washes and whatnot and like layering like and eventually getting like to a certain point. I like that aspect of watercolor a lot. So like I was kind of afraid of like acrylics because it's so different, you know. It's like
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God, is it gonna be like gouache where it's like, okay, you lay one and then it dries immediately, and you're like, no, I didn't have a chance to like
Yeah,
one. But like
that could
work
happen.
acrylic, you can't even like because like gouache is like at least like it's not waterproof, right? So you can like oh if you sort of like want to blend it a little bit more, you can add a little bit more water, but acrylic is
Yeah,
like so it's like
I
I
mean,
don't
you can
know,
add like what is it they call it for the acrylic? Like
like
a
a medium.
retarder.
a retarder, yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
Or
no,
a
actually,
ton of water, man. Just keep mixing it.
that's true.
actually, the water. It's funny. The water doesn't really help delay unless you do like there's another artist, Jesper Essing or Jesper. I forget how his name's
I think his
pronounced.
name is pronounced Yesfer. I think you're right.
Yeah.
That
The
stuff's
way he
traditional.
Yeah, that's all acrylic.
That's pretty
But the
damn
way he
sick.
does it is like the way he gets blends in acrylic is he uses an airbrush that he just has loaded with water and he'll just mist the page over as he works. So it's always like kind of wet until he's
Interesting.
ready to let it dry fully to
That feels like a waste of an
lock it in.
airbrush.
You know what?
Why not just use a
Not
spray
so
bottle?
much. Yeah, like he could just use like a fine spray bottle. Like Bill Sienkiewicz does that with acrylics and stuff. Like he has one of those
Yeah.
atomizer spray bottles that like it doesn't push out like globs of water. It does like this weird fine mist thing, and I never understood how those bottles work. But yeah, it could be the exact same thing if you don't
Mm.
have an airbrush.
Bill Sienkiewicz
But-
is. You should look up his artwork if you don't know him. It's wild.
oh yeah, he's all a watercolor too, or he's whatever he decides.
Yeah,
He's everything
he's a
across
little
the
bit like
board.
Scott in that sense. Like, you should look up some of Scott's videos. You know Scott Fisher?
Like, I think I'm familiar with him. I feel like you showed me some of his work too. Yeah,
Yeah, I
his
think I
stuff's
showed you some work when we were hanging out. Like, you look up some of his videos on YouTube because he's done stuff where, like, he primarily will paint acrylics, then he'll do some oils, but then he'll also paint on like copper, and then he does this awesome thing on Duralar where like he'll ink one side, so sketches on one side of it, and he paints on the back of it, and the color comes
Yeah.
through. It's it's a very interesting way to do stuff. Like he's just tinkers all day, and I feel like if you're looking to try different mediums, his video is going to give you tons of ideas. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
I would like to keep tinkering with traditional. I've been trying acrylic gouache, and that is not happening yet for me. But I'm also primarily digital, so moving into
Yeah.
see, I trained as a when I first started my first art degree was in like media design, right? So multimedia primarily, and all the traditional stuff I had to learn was like just in case advertising stuff, right? Like I learned to ink, I learned to letter and all that, but I never had the opportunity to like work with paint essentially.
Mm.
All that was, everything was digital for me. So people are always like, why don't you do traditional stuff? I'm like, because I don't fucking know how to, man. Like, like
Yeah.
I know how to paint, but
Yeah.
it's not the same.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's a learning curve with like every medium.
I mean,
So,
yeah,
I'm surprised how much glow you get from watercolors. Like, I didn't realize that was
yeah.
all watercolors.
It's really impressive. I do love the quality of it. Did you start in watercolor or did you start digital?
I started digitally. So like all
Oh
that
wow, okay.
I have is my older stuff. And like I feel like watercolor is one of those mediums that's kind of unforgiving because you can't really erase previous mistakes or anything like that. So
Hmm.
it's like I don't know. I really want to get to the point where like I can do bigger compositions like I did with like some of my digital pieces. Cuz like right now it's like my compositions are pretty they're simpler, you know. But uh yeah, like I feel like it's time. It's time for me to like sort of step into that realm, I guess.
There's
Um
oh man, I would love to see like a more complex piece done what because like yeah,
I
your
feel like
watercolor
you
stuff
should
is
also
amazing.
I feel like she should try for EDO. Like, have you tried for Everyday Original ever?
no, I haven't. I
I
found
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I guarantee you can easily become one of the artists on there. You literally just submit some of your traditional
Mhm.
work, and then they just cycle it out, man. And it's all traditional work only. So
Yeah,
yeah.
they do an open call. Well, it's for November, but I think they do the call in, like August or September or something like that. I forget when
and
they
you
do
can still send
exactly.
it in whenever though. Like, it doesn't have to be
Oh,
specifically.
I
It's
think
not like we don't know the people that run it.
no,
So
it's true, but it's been a minute. I can't remember
yeah,
if they still allow that or if they've just said it's easier,
sure.
like bookkeeping wise, just to be like, hey, this is
Either
when
way,
we accept submissions.
look up EDO, and if you're interested, I'll message them for you because we got directors.
Oh,
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
I wish if I did traditional stuff, I would totally apply to it just because it's people. The one of the reasons I wanted to start learning traditional was because I just wanted to try something new, but also
Mhm.
I understand that there's a little more like people like digital art, but they don't love digital art, right? There's a
Mm,
weird like
yeah.
obviously when you do something like Gen Con or
Mhm.
Dragon Con, digital stuff just goes. It's just a given. Anime cons I do really well at. It's always surprising to me. I'll take it. But you do something like a LuxCon. Have you done a LuxCon? No.
Mm.
It's more of a networking hangout, but it's a good place to like meet art directors. I don't really. Sometimes I sell just enough and make my expenses back, but that's. But if I had traditional work, I feel like it would move at a show like that.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I forget what I was gonna say. Oh, I was looking at your list of cons that you've done for the years. I noticed you have Anime Midwest on there. Have you ever tried ASIN? Anime Central? It's in the same spot.
Yeah, I've done ASIN before like once or twice, but then I've never been able to get in again because like their alleys are like lotteried.
Yep.
So, um
I mean, I have a booth there, and it's just so stressful to try to get. Like, they do this thing where they're like, you sign up for the booth, and they send you an email saying, "Congrats, you have a booth in the and you're like, oh, I'm in." It's like, no, we haven't collected the funds for that booth yet. This just tells you we have your thing for the booth, and then you pay for it, and they're like, "Congrats, you paid for your booth for Anime Central," and you're just like, "Cool." And then they're like, "Well, you don't technically have the booth yet because we haven't assigned the booth to you." And you're just like, "Please, like, just tell me if I have a booth, right? Because I'm local too, so it's like it's one of those shows
yeah,
where I get to hang out with friends. I do really well at it, and it's a fun show. So it's like I want to do it, but I also
Mm-hmm.
understand it's volunteer driven. So like these people are dealing with thousands of people,
Mm-hmm.
and every year I'm like, can we make this an easier process?
Right.
And then the artist alley is a lottery, so it's super stressful for artists if they don't. You
Mm-hmm.
might not get in for like 2 years, and all of a sudden you're in for like 4 years.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. No, I haven't gotten like in years. Like like only like the one or two times, and then like
I feel
I've
like I ain't
applied.
trying anymore.
Yeah, I have like, and I'm just like, I don't know. I might never get in again, but whatever.
I mean,
It's fine.
keep trying. I mean,
Yeah.
Anime Midwest is probably there's only a few shows I've done where I'm like, this is probably the worst show I've ever done. And one
Oh
was I did a show with Andrew Thompson and Ben Hill, magic show a month ago in Belleville, Illinois. It's called Lotus Con. That show was a disaster. it,
no.
it was run by a bunch of I don't fucking care. It was run by a bunch of assholes. You know, they treated Andrew and me poorly when they realized we're not actual magic artists yet, right? But I'm like, you guys invited us, right? And I was very
Yeah.
open when they invited me to say, hey, I don't have a magic card yet. I'm still waiting to get my cards. And they were like, we love your art. You'll be, it's fine. And then we got there, and the people running the show didn't even realize we were coming, so they didn't have any tables set for us or booths.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was just there's so much crap I could say about the show. I'm not gonna say live, but it was just not a good show.
Oh
So
no.
that was probably the second worst show because I made most of my expenses back,
Yeah.
right? And I apparently I made more money than the magic artists who were there. So that tells you something about how that show was run. Like
No.
fucking John Stanko was there, and he was like, "You made more money than I did." I was like, "How is that even
What?
possible, man?"
Oh
Um,
man.
But Anime Midwest, the first and last time I did that show, they put me across from like the beer and the food stands.
Uh-huh.
And initially I was like, again, it's a local show, so it's just 15 minutes from my house. But initially I was like, oh, cool. Everyone buying food is going to see my stuff. Maybe they'll mosey on over here. But it was just so slow. Like, what is it, 3 days long? And Tim was there, and so was Sean Price. And they were like, it's a pretty good show for us. But they were in like this main aisle that people were walking down. Like, nobody was
Yeah.
coming down my aisle. And I literally, Sunday morning when I think the booth was like $400. I was in a booth, right? Not in the artist alley. I
Oh,
was in a big booth, and I was like $400. It took me all until Sunday to make my money back for that booth.
no.
And as soon
It's
as
so rough.
I think it was like the first hour of the show opening on Sunday, we made back the $400. I looked at my friend. I'm like, break it down. We're done. And he's like, what? I'm like, break it all down. We're done. He's like, what are you talking about, man? I'm like, I made the money in the booth back. We're done. We're gonna go get some Korean barbecue. We're out of here.
Oh
And
my
like
god.
we just broke down and went and got Korean barbecue. Called it a day. I was so mad at the show. I was like, what the fuck? Like I also learned later there's stuff you can look up about that show. There's some bad stuff that happened with the people that used to run the show, but I think the new people are running it now, so I don't want to trash talk it. But I don't know what happened in that show at that time, but it was like the slowest show I've ever done, and I was just
Wow.
like, I don't know what's happening. The show I
That's
did
so
with the show I did with Andrew, I made my money back, but it was slow. And at one point, I was literally there's a video Andrew has of us working the show, or I don't know if Andrew took or Ben took it. At one point, you see me on film. I'm just standing there holding my iPad up. They're like, were you working or something? I was like, no, man, I was reading comic books. Like, I was like, I have to do something to stay awake,
Oh,
So it's
no.
just I don't know what's going
Yeah.
on with my phone.
I feel like I think so that's kind of, it's funny because so the last really really bad show I did was a Comic Con in DC. It was called Awesome Con. It was not awesome. That was the worst show I've ever done. I don't think I even broke even, but I just straight up like left in the middle of Saturday, like because it was just so bad. Like I knew I wasn't gonna make any money. Um and
That's in Washington, you said, right? I heard that
no,
show's
it
supposed
was
to.
uh,
DC, right?
Oh,
oh yeah, Washington DC.
yeah,
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 sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you meant state. But yeah, it was in DC. Which I mean, like at the time I was living in Virginia, so like it wasn't like, that horrible of a drive, I guess, but it was still like, I don't know, like I made like $100 or something.
Oof. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Which
was
is weird
like,
because Awesome Con in Washington's supposed to be a good show, so it's curious like what happened there.
no, it like
Well, was it just like audience like not meshing well with the work that you presented? Like they expected
I,
something else and then they
yeah, maybe. Like I don't know what it was, but it was just like I feel like Comic Cons just don't work for me. Like I don't know, or maybe that's just what I assumed because like
I
I
think
think
if you
like
find the right Comic Con, you might do well at because like San Diego Comic Con, for example, you can apply for the Artist Alley now. It's open for some
Mm.
people, and pretty much all our Beth was there. You met Beth at Andrew's house
but
in
I
San
feel like San Diego Comic Con is so large that it kind of
True.
transcends it being an actual Comic Con. It's more like a everyman kind of
Yeah,
thing.
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
I think there's like overlap with like all those
Yeah.
crowds too. So it's like I feel like it's not so much. I don't know. I don't know what was up with Awesome Con because like I felt like it.
hey, so you know what? I can beat your Awesome Con story because I did Awesome Con Indianapolis, which they did once, and it doesn't exist anymore. It was the first time I went to Indianapolis. I've never been to Indiana. At this time I've never done Gen Con.
Yeah.
I've never done Indiana Comic Con or Indiana Pop Con. I've never done any of these. It was like 20 excuse me, 2015, I believe. It's my first time. Trying to remember if I did. It was after I worked Gen Con. I had worked at a friend's booth. Either way, my friends told me AwesomeCon Washington is a big
Mm.
show and it's awesome and everyone loves it. It's like cool. There's one here in Indiana. It's only 3 hours from my house. I drive in there, and at this time I had a small setup. Everything fit in like a crate, and I could like wheel it in. I had a small banner, and I sat
Mhm.
there all weekend. I barely broke like $200. I was just sitting there like. And I remember I was so bored on Friday because I barely made money. At this time I was doing fan art too, so I was slowly shifting
Mhm.
before I shifted into my own stuff. Saturday was so dead. I think I made $50. So my friends invited me out for dinner. I only knew two people that lived there, my friend and her husband. They're like, "You want to go to dinner? Do you want to go to this whiskey bar?" And I'm just like, "Sure." So I just get trashed at this whiskey bar. And the next day I was literally sitting at my booth with a gallon of water, just slowly drinking. I was so hungover. In my head, I
Oh
was
my
like,
goodness.
I didn't want to leave the show early because I felt it was disrespectful to the show. So I just
Yeah.
sat through it for like 6 hours. And I was just like, just get through it. I still remember I broke down. I had like, when you're hungover and you had like the sweats. I literally just
Mhm.
broke down, said goodbye to the people I met at the show who I've never seen since. And I parked my car in the mall there. I walked to the mall and I drove straight to a Taco Bell. And,
Oh my goodness.
oh, I felt much better after I ate that burrito. I
Yeah,
just
I'll bet.
needed like food. But I remember I got back to the hotel room on Saturday and I was just like, well, you're about to get 4 hours of sleep and, get to the show. But that show was like, and then like the next year was just gone. And they were supposed to do Awesome Con Milwaukee like um
Mm.
3 weeks later, I think it was. But
Mm.
the show in Indiana was so bad, they canceled the show.
Wow.
Like, but they also planned poorly. It was during a weekend when there was like a Colts game, and there was
Mm.
also like a car show. So like some shows, I think just like figure out your logistics if you're gonna, like you wouldn't do a show
Yeah.
on like Christmas weekend,
Right.
Right,
Right.
right.
unless you're like C2E2 one year. They did it in 2021 when shows are coming back. They did a show like a week before Christmas or like a week and a half before Christmas. I'm like, this is a horrible idea.
Mm.
Hmm.
But again, since I'm local, I did it and it was cold because it's Chicago. I did okay, but also like I was like, people already spent all their money in November.
Right.
Mm.
No one's gonna
Mhm.
no one's gonna buy shit from us. So, um, I had some questions about your artwork. Let me find it.
Yeah, what do you got?
I was
I
gonna.
just I just been kind of looking at it over here.
I really, I
Um
really, I really. Have you ever thought about doing like your own stories or your own
Yeah,
series?
I do. Yeah, I do think about that. I have like a few things in mind. I just like I kind of so I used to want to be a comic artist when I was like in like high school. Like
Yeah.
um and I did like a web comic, but then it like took me like way too long because I'm a perfectionist, so it took me
I
10
don't
hours.
like doing comics. It takes forever.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
Yeah, it's so time consuming. But I did like this little tiny zine of like my fairies for like specifically for this one like little show in Milwaukee that I did. Just cuz like so I was doing like this other like it's kind of like a craft show but it's for like nerds. It's called like Made in Nerdwalkie, but it's like a 1 day show.
That sounds
Um
fun though.
yeah, it was really cute. It was like it was a good it was pretty decent for like 1 day. But this organizer for this really tiny Milwaukee comic show came over to my booth and was like, if you make like a little tiny zine, I will let you like I will get you the show.
Hmm.
And so that's what I did. I made like the zine for the show, but I ended up liking doing it so much and realizing like, oh my god, I actually miss doing like comics. Like I haven't even like, done like any sort of like comics or sequential art since like,
Sure.
teenagers.
I
So
feel like there's like a I feel like you can probably find like a middle ground here. Like if you did like I always try to tell artists to do their own IPs, right? I feel like you
mhm.
could do like a series of like fairies and moths or whatever, like mystical creatures, along with
Yeah.
small stories. I think it would take off.
Yeah, I think it would be fun. Like I really so I kind of like the idea of doing like a fairy tale style story or something akin to that because I really love like the classic fairy tale art from like the 1920s, like the whole golden age of illustration that
Yeah,
had like really like that stylistic period was like the best. But I feel like I really like that the like those storybooks and like their illustrations. So I kind of like was playing around like, okay, do I want to do like just like classic fairy tale story or do I want to do a comic? But I'm like leaning towards like both in that I like the idea of doing like illustrations, that sort of fairy tale style illustration along with like comic stuff in between as well. Uh best of both worlds.
I
I
can see
think that's a
that.
good idea.
Yeah, but anyhow, I don't know. It's just like,
She's like, that's
just
it. I'm never gonna do it.
I get it. Like comics are so
Comics are stressful, man. Like
they're stressful. And anytime I think about wanting to do it again, I'm like, oh no, remember the dark times.
I every time I think about even like when people are like, you ever think about turning this into a graphic novel, like my series? I'm like, I would hire somebody, but also then I don't want to do it, right? It's just like I remember my friend asked me to do like a 6 panel comic book for his wife for her birthday. We worked together at this company, and I was the graphic designer there. And I thought, okay, I did 1 panel, and I was like, nope. I remember I called him, and I was just like, yeah, man, I can't do this. And he's like, serious? I'm like, yeah, this 1 panel alone just stressed me out. And it's like I feel like the people that do comics real well, the people that can sketch really fast and just actually genuinely enjoy drawing like that. Like
yeah,
sequential art is
Yeah.
its own like beast, and I don't want
it,
anything to do with it.
yeah,
I've always liked I always figured like if I wanted to go back into like sequential storytelling and not to really go back and do like comic books itself, but like maybe do something close to like what James Gurney did with like the Dinotopia books or like what Greg Manchess did with his Above the Timberline
Yeah,
book.
dude, you could make us. You should do a dinosaur book. You like dinosaurs?
I do. Actually, you know what's funny is like I really have not I've drawn a few dinosaurs here and there, but like most dinosaur stuff I've done has always been sculpture work. I'm way more interested in like sculpting dinosaurs than I am like drawing, painting them
I
for some
saw a
reason.
thing the
I have
other
no
day.
idea why.
Somebody's I think they're gonna kickstart what was that cartoon called? Dino Riders or whatever? No,
Oh yeah, you're looking at Dave Silva's thing.
probably.
I know exactly which Kickstarter you're
Yeah,
talking
see, you're
about.
like I already funded it.
'Cause- well, I wanted to, but like
Because I
I've
was like,
thought
I
of him
immediately
before in
thought
the
of Andrew
past.
when I saw it. I'm like, this guy would eat this up.
Yeah.
It's called
Yeah, no,
Dino
Dave
Riders, right?
The new one that he's doing or the old thing?
What's the old one called?
The old one is called Dino Riders. The
What's
one
his
the
thing
one
called?
that like Mattel,
Yes,
I think
Mattel.
Mattel owned. Yeah.
Malina, I don't know if you've
His
seen it. It's basically like you have like a brontosaurus with like a carriage on top and laser cannons on the sides and
dinosaurs
stuff.
with guns. What's not to
Dinosaurs
like?
with guns.
Man, I would love that. I would have loved
Yeah.
that because I
It's an
was a
old
dinosaur.
cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
I forgot. I found it because I was trying to look up stuff on. Are you guys? I know Andrew likes Godzilla. Malina, I don't know if you like the MonsterVerse and Godzilla, but there's a show on
I'm
Apple
not.
right now called Monarch, which is
Mhm.
fucking amazing, by the way.
Oh, is that a show? I've seen trailers for it, but
Oh
It's
yeah.
good.
I
I'm
saw
I'm a
like
little like about some of the acting, but the story writing is pretty good. Eh,
nice.
And I
Wait,
did
which
a
He,
deep dive. It's on Apple
Apple
TV.
TV, I think. Yeah. It's like really just like wait, like I think like wait until like late December, and I think it'll be done, and then just like rent Apple TV for a month, and then you could just
Yeah,
binge the
just
like 10
binge it.
episodes that are there.
Because it's all happening in like if you've seen the last two Godzilla movies and Kong, the ones that are on Skull Island, all that's in the same universe. So
mm,
Yeah.
it's kind of cool because you get this like I don't want to deep dive on it because
Even
my
even if it wasn't like a Godzilla, even if it wasn't Godzilla focused, I like just the fact that they cast Kurt Russell and his son
holy
Wyatt Russell
crap.
as the exact same
Y-
character, just different ages.
Yep. I mean, it took me a minute. I was looking at the young actor. I'm like, that guy really looks like Kurt Russell. And
Yeah,
then I
I
had to
was
look up
like
the
as soon as I
cast, and I was
saw
like,
that, I
oh, it's his
applauded. I was like,
son.
"Oh my god!"
And then the
Um,
second thought I had was that dude plays U.S. Agent in Marvel.
yes, he does. Yeah.
But either
Um,
way, that took me to deep dive to your Dino Rider stuff.
yeah. So yeah, if you want to know the what the Kickstarter was that Dave Silva ran, it was called a Cyberzoic,
I'm not
and
gonna get anything. I just want to look it up.
yeah, no, it's
I don't have room, man. Look at that. That bookshelf's running out of space. I don't have any
yeah.
more shelves in here.
I backed a few of his past dinosaur stuff that he's done. This is the first time where he's like, "Hey, I've got my IP that I want to redo Dino Riders, but I legally can't own Dino
Right.
Riders,
You gotta
but
call it something
I'm gonna
else.
do it for damn it." And it's like, yeah, sure. No, it looks great. Like it looks really, really awesome. Dave's a cool guy. I've talked with him in the past and stuff. Um, yeah,
I mean,
I love it. As soon as I saw it, I was like, "This is." I really wish I had money because I would throw it right at it. But also, like, they're really big figures. Like,
dude, it's huge. It's like it would take up your whole. Your kid would ruin it.
oh yeah, probably. But
Like
like,
my
yeah,
kid
like
comes in here and she's been really good about not touching. Like I got some collectibles, and I got some stuff put away, and she's been really good at like not touching it. But I could see like as she's getting older, there's this like wanting to
yeah.
just like
No,
I have a Casey Jones down here that I haven't put away yet, and she was like kind of petting it earlier, and then she was like, she looks cool. I'm like, he looks cool, and she's like, it's a she. I'm like, all right. Like I'm not gonna argue
yeah.
with a 4-year-old.
If I remember right, like all the figures, all the dinosaurs and stuff, they're all to scale to the figures, which I think are like GI Joe
Hmm.
Star Wars figures, like that 6 inch
Oh
Are
wow.
size
they
or whatever,
that
or like
tall?
the
I thought they were as tall as
three and a quarter,
the.
three and
I
a
thought,
quarter, like the GI Joe
yeah.
Star Wars kind,
Were
which
they
is like
that tall?
cool, huh?
I always thought they were as tall as the Mask figures. Remember Mask?
No, mask figures are smaller. Like so, GI
Yeah, I know.
Joe and all that, those are like
Three and a
three and a
quarter.
quarter. And
Yes.
that's what the Cyberzoic stuff is at, which is
Okay.
awesome because it's all at scale. However, that means like
That means
certain
that dinosaur is
dinosaurs are like
huge.
18 inches long and they're not even the biggest dinosaur in existence. Like the T-Rex is probably going to be like a 2 footer
Where are you gonna put that
figure.
thing?
Exactly. Like, yeah, what do you do with that? Which is why, like, I remember the Dino Riders of old was like the mask figures. Like they
Okay,
were
that's
just
what I'm
tiny, tiny
thinking.
little figures. Yeah. But
See,
yeah.
Melina, you can make a book series, and then you make some PVC, not PVC, vinyl fairies and vinyl sculpts. I guarantee that
I
will fly off the shelves for you. And you
honestly
also got the
the
backing. I saw you're on Etsy. You got a ton of sales on there already.
It's okay, I guess. I don't know. Like I am making more sales because of like the free stuff, I think. I feel like they're definitely I think they're reaching people somehow. People are really responding to them. So
Do you
I
have a
don't know, like
mailing? You have a mailing list?
I am going to have one. I have a list of
Hmm.
names that I haven't utilized yet, but
Damn.
yeah, I don't know. I've never done like newsletters and stuff like that before,
I
but I
always, yeah. I mean, I always tell artists the mailing list is the key to your good sales because Twitter's Twitter's
Twitter.
I can't think of anything nice to say about it. It's just gone. And then Instagram seems to do okay for me, but every time I send out a letter to all the people that follow me, I usually make a few sales off that because they're like, "Oh, he's got new work."
yeah.
Like I did a Black
Yeah.
Friday sale and I made a bunch of sales on I just got Andrew and a bunch of spot ordered tote bags, so I
Hmm.
moved a bunch of those tote bags and journals. I had a bunch of blank journals, and then I sold some prints, which I was like, "Thank God." Like I was like,
Yeah.
I need these play mats and prints to move, right? Like the bigger items have to go. Um, and I'll probably do another sale before the end of the year, just because like when you're sitting on as much product as I am, you're just like, I gotta get this out the door, man.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know. And when I was talking to Dustin and saying at San Diego, they were trying to convince me to move over to Etsy. And I think the beauty
Mm,
of Etsy, as much as I have like this weird love hate relationship with Etsy, but I think what's good about Etsy is you can kind of hit a wider audience than you would by
mhm,
yourself, and
Right.
that's probably, and in your case, they're probably searching fairies, and then your stuff
mhm,
just comes up,
mm. Yeah.
and rinse and
Etsy's
repeat.
Etsy's nice for that. I feel like I don't know. I've thought about like moving to a different like my own thing just because like Etsy takes
Just do
such a
both.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea too.
I mean, what you do is you do both. I forget what Tawny said she does. Like, there was a way to like be like, I have these sizes available on Etsy. If you want larger sizes, you have to come to my website to order them.
Oh,
Mm,
okay.
But the problem becomes is with Etsy. Well, it's a good and bad thing. With Etsy, if someone orders internationally, they'll handle all the stuff like VAT taxes and all that stuff. Come to your own personal site, you have to sort all that out sometimes.
oh my
That's
god.
right.
I mean, I talked to an
Yeah.
artist earlier who said that he's sent stuff to Germany, I think it was, like 3 times already, and has never dealt with VAT tax, and whatever was shipped always just made it there. I was just
Mm.
like, I don't know why that's working out for you.
There's like certain countries I don't ship to anymore because they just have like that new
Yeah,
packaging law. So it's like Germany and France both. Like I don't ship to those because
I don't ship
I
to
just
Brazil. Everything always gets stolen. And I
Oh
don't mean
really?
that in a bad way. Like
Really?
every time I've shipped anything to Brazil, so I looked it up and they said like the mail people there, the people that control the mail there, are a little bit devious. So I'll say that. And they want you to come to get your package and pay extra to like, oh, is this your package? Give us $20 more or whatever their currency is, right? And you
Oh my
pay it and you
god.
get it.
Oh man.
And every time I've shipped something there, because a bunch of people bought my book there, it's just being held. And I was like, I can't, I don't have any control over that, you know?
Yeah, it's like out of your hands entirely.
And that's not
Wow.
to say it happens every time. Stuff will sometimes just make it through the system. So people have messaged me, be like, "Hey, can you send it to me again?" I was like, "I can if you want to pay shipping again because it's very expensive to ship to something like Germany, France,
Yeah.
Brazil, I mean Canada. It's like Canada's like
Mm.
literally right here, and it costs almost $40. It costs almost the same value as the book to ship there.
Yeah, yeah. No, it does. Well, I started using Pirate Ship.
That's
That's
what
what
I
I use.
use.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you guys use it too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Okay. So you guys know.
yeah. I
Uh,
just like them because they're like, here's a good deal. You like USPS? Here's a good deal. But if you want to save $1, you can go with UPS. And sometimes I'm like, I don't really want to drive to UPS because fuck
I'll just
UPS.
never yeah, exactly. Fuck
I
UPS.
don't think
They destroyed his work. They destroyed one of my. I'm gonna say a UPS story right now because I want to trash them. I sent a
Oh no.
bunch of collectibles. I have a friend who runs an eBay store. I sent him a bunch of Lord of the Rings collectibles. I wrapped them up myself. They were secure. I sent it there. The box gets to my friend. I paid the insurance because they were like, it's $100. Every dollar is $100. So I insured it for $700. I paid an extra $6.
Mm.
It gets to his house. The box is super wrecked. Like it just looks like the guy just kicked it all the way from Chicago to Arizona, right? And I'm just like, okay, open it up, and there's 4 Weta maquettes in there that are now all damaged. And it
Oh
wasn't like
no.
so bad that we couldn't like. It was like excuse me, like Legolas, his bow was damaged. Aragorn's sword, Gimli's axe, and then
The
there's a
principle of
Frodo.
the matter, though.
So my friend's like, we can glue these together and eBay them, but we're like, oh, we pay the insurance. So I contact the manager at the store and I say, here's photos. I sent him photos of all the damaged stuff. And then he said, well, can you get me the value of all these items? So I go on eBay and I find, you can do a thing on eBay where you can say sold, like what it's sold at. And I find the
Mhm.
highest value these things sold at. I send screenshots to them. And I say, you guys owe me about $275. It wasn't that much.
Mhm.
They say they won't cover the insurance. I said, why not? They said, because I wrapped it and they shipped it. If they wrapped it and shipped it, the insurance would cover it. I'm like, I wasn't told that. Because I'm like, so you're essentially telling me if I gave you my box and told you to put it in a bigger box and
Yeah.
fill it with styrofoam and then insure it, all this would have been covered. But the fact that I wrapped it myself and you fucked it up, I'm still responsible for it. I'm like, nobody told me that that's how it works. And I went back and forth with corporate for like a month and a half. And then I was like, I'm literally wasting time for $200 at this point. And we have a friend, Steven Najarian. I messaged him and said, he's a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I was like, hey, do you want these maquettes? They're like, they're worth something. I don't want them. I was just trying to sell them, but I'd
Right.
rather not glue this. You got to glue these weapons back together. And he was like, Steven was like, I'll take the Legolas and the Aragorn. I was like, no, man, you got to take all four. Like, I don't give a fuck what you do with them. I don't care if you line them up on a fence and shot put them, but I need to get them out of my garage at this point. So I gave it to him at Kansas last year. I'm just like, here, take them. But fuck UPS. Like, I will not use them to ship stuff anymore. Like, USPS, if I ship something and it gets damaged, they will actually cover the insurance. So like, yeah, we fucked up
Yeah.
for the most part. I've never had a problem with them. So, and then I think what happened was the manager at the store refused to file the claim, and that's why I couldn't get my money back. And so I have nothing good to say about UPS other than
Yeah.
fuck UPS.
Yeah, it's like they just stole an extra $6 from you.
I mean, they literally stole $275 from me because they damaged the
That's
shit.
true, but I mean,
And then
like,
in
That's true.
Andrew's case, did they like break your glass, like your painting?
It was Yeah, so it was a painting I was shipping up to a LuxCon, and I did do a foolish thing in it. I had tacked it. I wasn't thinking at the time because I had framed this painting like ages ago, and I put like real glass in it, right? That was my mistake.
That's classic
Um,
mistake.
yeah, but like this is also like I really hadn't shipped paintings before that, and so I was under the assumption like I'm going to double wrap this. I did a bunch of like different packaging and stuff with it, so where it's like it wouldn't be jostled within the box. Like you would have to like throw the box itself and have it get like punctured for it to really damage it and do what they did. What happened instead was in transit, I guess it got to a shipping facility and they opened the box. And when they
Oh,
opened the box, they had turned it upside down or something. So the painting just landed face flat on the concrete and the
why did
glass
they open the
shattered.
box?
I still baffles me to this day.
Yeah,
They claimed that they were opening it to check something about it.
sure.
mm,
Like didn't really specify what it was, but they said like, "Hey, we're investigating this thing."
Like
And I
you're
was like,
hiding
"This."
drugs in the back of a painting.
I guess like yeah, I guess like they say they do this like blind check every once in a while. The whole thing, I was like, this just sounds like a lot of excuses to say like, "Hey, you guys fucked up." But
Mm-hmm.
yes, like so what happened was like it landed face first and then the glass got shattered. It cut into the painting in several
Oh,
spots. Yeah. And then they just scooped it all like scooped the glass back in. Like the painting and stuff, like all that was still within the frame, but like the glass obviously is not shattered out. So they just scooped the glass back into the box and then taped it up and everything and then just sent it along to a LuxCon. So then once I got it, I was like, "Fuck, I can't show
and you're like,
this.
what the hell
I
happened to
can't
this?
even like even if the painting was like not damaged, then I could like maybe show it. But like even the frame, like because they like unwrapped it and stuff, like the frame was all beat up and stuff too.
Yeah,
Um, But like fun, like happy end to that was like once I got it back, I let it sit for like 3 or so months, and then I finally sat down and like went back to work on it because it was just like mostly acrylic, so I could kind of rework it
Mhm.
Sure.
and fix the
But
areas
it's
that
like
kind of like
extra
got
work you don't
punctured.
want to deal with, right?
It was extra work, but I did end up getting to sell it on a Everyday Original on like the Beyond Gallery portion of
Yep.
it. So it
Oh,
did
that's
go to
right.
like a new home and everything.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So at least that like and when I sent it out that time around, I sent it out USPS. I didn't send it at UPS.
No UPS.
Yeah.
I used to really like UPS, man. I use them for everything because they're usually
No.
slightly cheaper, but quality isn't there. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. How do we get in this conversation? I forget.
We were talking about pirate ship.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, Pirate Ship is amazing. I used to use
Yeah.
ShipStation, but I don't like ShipStation because I was
I
paying
feel like
monthly.
that like simple export rate for the international too. So it's like, oh my god, it like cuts shipping in half for like because like I was using Etsy previously and like shipping was like like as
Insane.
like the like even for
Can,
prints and stuff they would be like the same price as like a print. So yeah,
can
it
you
was like it was
sync your Etsy to your Shopify? I'm sorry, to
uh
your Pirate Ship.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
so it's
yeah,
like
because I use Shopify. That's why I said that on accident.
yeah.
I like the fact that people can order from like Etsy or Shopify, and you log into Pirate Ship, and your orders are just there, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool, these
Yeah.
are the
Yeah.
orders.
Yeah.
I think it's convenient. We're a little over time.
Oh.
It's not a big deal. Um,
We're always over time.
we're always
we,
over
we should
time.
we should really just say we're at time
We're
at this
at
point.
time is a better way to say it. Is there anything you want to talk about that we may have missed? Like, I feel like I have notes for you here now, like EDO, book, fairy tales. So I'm gonna be on you about those three things.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, definitely bug me about that
I'm gonna
for
bug you about that for like a month, and then I'll just stop because I'll be like, well, she's on her own
Yeah, I would love to see a book about the fairies because they're really beautiful illustrations.
Thank you. Yeah. No, I would love to do it. Like it's just okay, so actually there is something that I haven't talked about cuz like before like the comic or the book is kind of like it's kind of like a way out there project.
Sure.
But what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to come up with like possibly doing like an oracle deck because I really like tarot and that sort of
Hmm.
thought. So and I want to do a tarot deck eventually too, but like that's also another like later type of thing. But I really like someone on Instagram like messaged me and was like, "Have you considered doing like a fairy oracle deck?" And that just like
That'd be
immediately
cool.
like clicked in my head. I was like, "That would be perfect. That would be so good."
Yeah.
So I'm kind of working on that right now. I'm like in the early, like I haven't even started drawing yet. Like I'm just coming up with like prompts and stuff like that for myself.
Yeah, like just
Sure.
planning it out.
Yeah. So yeah, that's something else that you can hound me about,
I'll add it to the
Alan.
thing here. Oracle deck.
Yes, Oracle deck.
people have told me to do I've had people tell me to do an Oracle deck in my style, and then I had at a LuxCon people were telling me to do a tarot deck, but I don't know enough about tarot, so I'm just like
Yeah.
I've heard that community that like like if you don't know they will just eat you alive. Like this guy's just
Oh,
making this for. I don't know if that's true or
Yeah.
I
not,
didn't,
but I was just like an Oracle deck. I feel like is a safer play.
yeah, yeah, because like you can make up your own rules and stuff like that. I don't know. Like I feel like tarot is so. I feel like people have their own interpretations of like the tarot too. So
Mm.
like I don't know. Most people are like, and it's so popular now that everyone's doing their own thing. So I don't know. I'm like, what
Yeah.
kind of tarot communities are there? I mean, I'm sure it's a thing,
I'm
like
working on a tarot card right now for someone, and yeah, like I don't really know tarot really that well.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, I've had to lean a lot on like other people to be like, hey, like what are the meanings of this? What's the symbology of this? What should I pay
Right.
attention to? And yeah, it is like I've had like 3 or 4 different opinions between all these people
It's just like
regarding just this one
however they
fucking
see it,
card.
right?
Yeah. Well, like one
I
person put
do
it
think
best where
it'll.
it's like one person described it where it's like, yeah, there is like a general theme to it, but like they were talking about like it actually made me think really a lot about it. Where this person at least like described it as like they don't want just the tarot card to have like an obvious like surface level reading of it. Like they prefer the illustrations to be more complex and to like have like secondary things where it's like you could take away an additional meaning to it than
Mhm.
just like the face level reading of like this is what the tarot card, this is what this particular card always means kind of deal.
Sure.
And then there's like maybe some additional stuff to it as well where it's like, oh, like, well, this also could represent this within it and that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I feel like it's really intuitive and subjective because like I think a big part of like the meaning so like the original like the one that everyone like kind of like
The
read
Rider
based
Waite or something, right? Yeah.
on like that one I mean that one even was like referencing like older decks and stuff like that but that one is like very like that one's like the iconic one
Mm.
that to go to and I feel like with that one like there is like a lot of like symbols in there that is like really really specific and just kind of like okay this is like adding like all these extra meanings to everything but I
Yeah.
also feel like part of me kind of thinks that they have all those extra symbols to make it seem fancier than it actually is to some
That's
extent
fair. Yeah.
Sure.
because like I even even like the ones that do have like a lot of those symbols in it like at the end of the day like say like a death card or whatever it's like okay it's still like about that specific like term like death or whatever and I feel like that even that word has like people are going to have different interpretations of like that specific card just because like death has like a lot of like meanings too you know
Right.
it's like death is about like it's about like endings but it could also be about rebirth or whatever so I feel like it's more about like the subjectivity of like meanings in general because it's like you know things mean different things like everything means something different to like
Mhm.
every depending on who's like looking at it so I think it's more like that I guess and if you want to add like extra flourish like extra symbols to like kind of like pump up the juice of the meaning that's like fine too I guess um if anything it just gives people like more stuff to play with like I feel like honestly the visual part of like tarot like you can like be like kind of like a I don't know what you would call it like a traditionalist or something and be like kind of or a puritan I guess and just be like oh I'm sticking to like the Rider Waite or whatever
Sure.
but like the tarot cards that are most fun are the ones that kind of deviate a little bit you know and they just kind of like have different like they have different imagery and different like symbols that show up so when you do a reading you can kind of like play with that a little bit more rather than just like kind of fall back and like the
Yeah,
normal meaning.
I noticed that when we were kind of a lot of people had some people had the Rider Waite ones where they were just like very like this means this and that means that. For starters, at LuxCon, I've never seen more tarot readings done in my entire life than at LuxCon.
Oh yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
like,
I
is
same
this a
thing, same
thing?
thing.
Like, am I should I be part of this group? What's happening here? Um, and I had my first set of cards drawn for me while I was there. I just usually don't let people do it. I'm just like, nah, I'm not interested. I'm not really sure what's gonna happen, you know. But once I was like, it is what it is. It's not set in stone essentially. So I was like, go ahead. But then I saw like all these different decks, which is kind of cool. But at the same time, I was like, dang, does everybody here own a deck?
Mm.
Except me, apparently.
It felt like it. Yeah, you and
The
me
deck
both.
I
We're
own
the
is the
only
one I
two.
worked on with Stephanie Koss. Um,
Oh yeah.
I
Actually, yeah,
had like
same, same.
I think I had the Three of Cups. I can't remember what I did. I think it was the Three of Cups. But that was the first time I got like the most amount of knowledge in that area of tarot stuff because I was like, I don't know what this means. I don't know what this does. You know, like
Yeah.
is it
Mhm.
Three Cups? Beats the fuck out of me. You know, like so. But you know, I do have an interest in. I would do an oracle deck, but I need to. I tend to make the one principle I usually follow when I make stuff for myself is I usually make things that I would want to buy or I'm interested in, right?
Mhm.
Like I would use, like that's why I sell journals because I use journals, playmats, dice,
Mhm.
prints, metal. These are things I would hang up on my wall. Like these are things I would enjoy. And now I'm leaning into things that I enjoy, like RPGs. I'm writing an RPG in my series, right? I like stories. I like writing them. I like reading them. So that's why I write my own books. Oracle deck sounds cool, but right now, without knowing enough about it, it feels too much like a cash grab to me.
Yeah.
And like Tim's tried to convince me over the years to make like a just a poker cards, like poker deck.
Mhm.
And I understand they'll probably move if I make them,
Mhm.
but I need it to be more than that. If
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah.
sense, you know?
No, that totally makes sense. I feel like I would not want to do stuff like that I didn't care about.
Correct.
Like
Because people can
Because
tell, like when I've said this
yeah,
before, like
you
when
beat
you're
me
trying
right
to,
to it.
yeah, you say it, and I've said it over and over on the show. So
Yeah, like people know when you're not genuine.
correct.
Mhm.
Like when you speak to the product that you have at your table, people know, oh, this person really enjoys this thing, this art,
Yeah.
whatever it is. But if you're just like, like I had a friend once who, early on when I was starting, we both started doing fan art. I'm not gonna name him because I don't want to embarrass him, but he was doing Star Wars fan art, and I was doing. I had Star Wars fan art too, but I mean, there's a Boba Fett helmet sitting right here,
Mhm.
a full helmet, in case anyone's wondering how big of a fan I am, right? But I could talk to people about it for forever. I could
Yeah.
talk to people about and I only drew comic characters that I knew about, that I enjoyed. Like I didn't randomly draw like a Miss Marvel because I didn't know enough about Miss Marvel at the time, right? So I was like, I'm not gonna draw something I can't speak to. He did a bunch of Star Wars stuff because in his head he was like, Star Wars is popular, people are gonna buy it. Someone tried to have a conversation with him at the show, and he was just like, yeah, I don't know enough about this. And they're like, well, why'd you draw it? He goes, I just felt like drawing it. And he wasn't making sales. I'm like, bro, people don't want to talk to you because you have this. The artwork was awesome, but the
Mhm.
artist was very bored with their work. So you
Yeah.
couldn't speak to it. They weren't genuine. They were losing sales. So, and since my friend now he has moved on to doing his own line of like, he was always an avid fisherman. So now he does like fishing stuff, like
Wow.
Oh
hats,
man,
shirts.
he's a Guy Harvey dude.
Yeah, I mean he's in the zone now, right? Like he's making patches and hats and shirts, and he's killing it. Like people are buying it left and right. And I'm just like, yeah, see, now you're focused on something you love and something you enjoy. I don't know shit about fish. I know what a bass looks like, and I know what a pike looks like, and maybe
Right?
maybe a walleye, and that's it. Like, but he's got all these different fish, all these patches, and he's killing it. And I was like, see, this is what I was telling you about back in the day. You have to focus on what you're good at and what you enjoy. And if you
Yeah.
like fairies and butterflies and moths, and obviously you can make an oracle deck if you like it. And I honestly think whatever you make in your style is going to sell, man. You got a very unique style. That's my point.
Thanks.
And it's hard to um sometimes it's just hard to vibe with that, right? Because like when you do something like an anime con or something, you're like Gen Con is hard because you're there with like 70 other artists that have their own unique styles.
Yeah.
So there are artists who did Gen Con this year who were like, I didn't do that well. I feel bad. I'm like, no, this was your first Gen Con and you learned from it, hopefully. And don't
Mm.
compare yourself to these other
People that
artists
are
out
more
there. Yeah.
established and have kind of found their way.
You have to
Mhm.
build your fan base, right? Like, I've been at this for almost 10 years. I started in 2014. So
Mm.
I feel ancient. So, no pun intended. Um, that's my rant for the day. Did you want to move on to so we do a thing at the end of the show where we talk about some cool new product or a cool new movie or book or something that we've been wanting to tell other people about, essentially. I don't know if you had a chance to find anything. If you didn't, we can do
Oh,
this
I
quick.
have something.
Do you want to go
Oh, I'm
first?
curious.
You guys go first. I don't
I can
know
go
what you
first.
guys.
It's fine.
I'm curious.
I mean, so I picked this up for my kid. My my friends got my whoa. Oh my god, I almost dropped it. My friends last Christmas got her a tiny little like kids camera.
Mhm.
It's got a
Oh,
small little,
nice.
and she's been running around taking photos with it. So I started researching cameras for older kids, and there's this company called Kitamento. This is an actual like it's a solid camera. It's a digital camera.
Hey.
That's
It's
so
it's
cute.
okay. I mean, that's just a lens cap, right? But it's got like a full screen, no games
What?
built into it. This thing operates like a digital camera.
I might need to
Yeah, I'll send you a
since
link.
yeah, because I think my daughter would also really like that.
So like basically, it's got one button to take the photos. It's got this case in it, so it's shockproof. The screen for touchscreen. There's no games built into this. So the other camera has like games, so she'll play games on it, which defeats the purpose. You want her to like take photos.
Take photos,
Um,
yeah.
this is a selfie camera in the back of it. Okay, and then literally it's got this case. I ordered what came in today was a carrying case for it, and I got it came with a journal. And the journal essentially is here, let me just open it so we can all show it off.
You're opening your kid's Christmas present.
Well, I gotta wrap it still, right? Well, her birthday's in December too.
Oh man, she's one of the yeah, that's right. I forgot that she was in December too. Ah, I have
So
a
I
friend.
got a
Well,
message about the journal, but this is the bag that goes in.
oh,
That
that's
is
very
adorable.
adorable.
And I don't think the journal's in here, so I gotta message them. But basically, there's a journal that it's like an adventure journal. And what I figured is I've got a mirrorless camera that I'm learning how to use. So her and I can literally just go on an adventure, be like, it says like take a photo of a tree, take a photo of a swing set or whatever it is in that journal, leaves or whatever colors.
Mhm.
But this camera is designed for kids to learn how to like be a photographer essentially. But she's showing like, and then this is for ages 3 to 7. So there's when you look on their website, there's 3 and under, 3 to 7, and then 8 to 12, I think. And they just get more
Mhm.
and more advanced as you go through it. So I think it's a cool product. And they email me as soon as I order something. The owner of the company emailed me directly to be like, "Thanks for buying the product. It's really awesome." And I
Aw.
told him the whole thing about
Oh,
like
really?
my kid's just getting into photography, and I feel like if I feed the habit now, hey, I might be able to retire on her making money taking photos someday. I don't know.
Wow. That is such a fancy camera.
It's actually not as fancy as like my main camera, but um, I just want her to have something a little more robust than the kids.
Yeah.
Because she's like running around the house and she'll be like smile and she'll take a photo and you look at the images later and they look like photos you took on a Motorola Razor back in the day. They're just like so like not good, but
Yeah.
it's not bad. But her compositions aren't that bad.
Mhm.
I
We
feel like this camera will help her get better.
I want to say last year we got our kid a Instax camera, and she loves it. Like she uses it all the time. But the thing is like, she's like taking cryptid photos of me and shit, where it's like I look like a Bigfoot almost. And so
That's
we
how
have like
all the photos Violet
loads.
takes looks.
Yeah, which is like that's fine, but also it's like film's expensive, kid.
Oh yeah, you've
you
got
just
the
you
instant
just burned
camera,
through
right?
yeah, you just burned through like 25 sheets of film in
This is
like
my
an
main one too.
afternoon.
So like I feel like Violet will see this and say, "Oh, it looks a little bit like Dad's camera." It's a small mirror. This thing's way too advanced. I'm not going to give her this ever. She's not touching this until I die. You know.
Yeah.
But ooh, did I stop filming? No, it's still going. Okay. Anytime I touch this keyboard, I think I stop recording.
Oh yeah, if you accidentally hit that space bar,
Yeah, I'm trying to
right?
avoid that. Now, that's what I've got. And Andrew, I will send you. Let me. I think if I talk to the people that own the company, I might be able to get you like a discount code to share or something. So,
Okay. I
yeah.
gotcha. All right. Nice. Um
I thought about,
I
by the way, I thought about getting a like an Insta camera, a Polar camera, but I seen the way Violet goes through post-it notes, and I was like, nope.
that's yes. She loves it, and we have no problem like getting her the film, but yeah, it is kind of like,
This company
yo,
makes an
we
Insta
just
camera
got you
too, I
new film
think.
into this and you burned through it in an afternoon. What is
Yeah,
happening?
see, no, that's a waste of film.
Yeah. But she does love like the tactile thing of that. But yeah, it is like, oh God, kiddo. Like I know you really like enjoy this, but man,
Just be glad she didn't ask
get
for a
your
Polaroid.
Yeah, like get your drawings out or get your photos out of the way, the bad ones out of the way, so we can start making like decent ones instead of
Dude,
like weird cryptid photos of us.
in our group, Melissa Sue Stanley was running around with a Polaroid camera at IX. A
Oh wow.
Polaroid camera, and it has this is the Mandalorian. So I'm like, they still make film for this.
Wow.
She
Some of
did
them,
take she did take a photo of us that did not turn up, and I was like, that's weird.
actually, you should. I should ask her. Like, maybe it's like I have a friend that does a lot of photography, and he does mainly like film photography.
Hmm.
But he basically orders like all his film that he uses. He basically has to order from eBay, like from expired lots and stuff. So he's kind of like
Well, so one
sometimes the
company,
film doesn't work, sometimes it does.
yeah, I mean, I've got this roll of film still sitting here. I don't know what's on it. It says Kodak Max 400. I clearly used it, and I don't know where to turn this in. I found it when I was clearing stuff out, and I feel like there's probably a bunch of pictures of me in my 20s on this thing, and I don't know. And once I find a studio, I'll develop it. But the Polaroid thing, you can find film on eBay, but one company bought all the existing Polaroid equipment apparently, and also bought all the film while they were at it. And
Yeah.
then the film you get now is whatever the new tech is. It's like when Melissa took photos of us on her Polaroid, it took fucking forever for the images. Remember Polaroids? You take the photo and you just kind of wave it like an idiot, and in like 20 seconds, the
Mhm.
image would start appearing. This shit took like 5 minutes at least. It was just like slow rolling. And I was like, I think they got rid of whatever the poisonous stuff was and put in stuff that won't kill you. So it's taking forever. So, which one
Wow.
of you guys wants to go next?
Do you want to go, Melina, or do you want me to go?
I guess you can go.
Okay. I don't have anything. It's not a new thing, but
Dude, if you talk about Dave the Diver, I swear to God.
no, it's not David. No, it's not
Okay.
David Driver. It's a movie that I feel like not a lot of people have watched, and I tend to rewatch it every once in a while. And I'm
Hmm.
actually in the process of rewatching it right now. The Nice Guys. Have you ever seen that with Ryan Gosling and oh shit,
Oh,
his name just left me.
yeah. It's the guy who played Gladiator. Um,
Yeah, why did his name just escape my brain?
Russell
Russell Crowe.
Crowe. Yeah, Russell
Yeah,
Crowe.
Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling. It's a really good movie. It's
I
written
haven't
and
seen that in a
directed by
long
Shane.
time.
Oh yeah, written and directed by Shane Black. It's one of those movies that like when it was first coming out, I didn't go see it, and then once I finally caught on streaming, I kind of wish I did because there should be like sequels to this movie and stuff.
Okay, I have to watch
But
it again.
it's such a funny movie. It's really good. It's really good. So yeah, if anyone hasn't seen it, like
Nice
highly
guys.
recommend checking it out.
Is it like a comedy or something?
It so
Kind of like
yeah,
a,
it
would you
it
call
is
it a
a
dark
comedy.
comedy?
Like I would say dark comedy kind of thing cuz like
Mhm.
the subject matter of it is not goofy. It's like involving a murder, a government plot, like blackmailing, all this kind of thing.
You just
But
sound like you described Weekend at Bernie's, by the way.
yeah, yeah, that is true. But yeah, no, the way the characters carry themselves throughout it, like they're kind of goofy as a result. Like Ryan Gosling is surprisingly good
He's good
at
in
like comedic
almost
timing.
everything he does, I think.
But he's like when I think of like the other roles that he's been in, it's usually like a weird, like stoic everyman kind of deal. Like that's kind of what his shtick was for a long time. And then like you get him in The Nice Guys, and he's playing this dude that thinks he's a badass, but is actually like a fuck up, but doesn't quite realize that he's a fuck up or doesn't want to admit it.
Mm.
And also, his character that he's playing throughout the whole film is basically drunk the entire time. So it's also he's kind of like has a half-cocked idea of like what's even going on around him at all given moments throughout the film. But
That's
yeah, it's
funny.
like really, really good comedic delivery from him and stuff as a result. And then like him playing off of Russell Crowe, it's really fun just to watch that kind of chemistry. And I think it's right now on Netflix, if I remember right.
Oh, that's good to know. I'll write
So
that down.
yeah, highly, highly
Oh,
recommended.
is
What
it
was
like a
that?
Sorry.
long? You said it was an older movie?
It's old.
Yeah, from like not that long ago, like 2018, maybe 19, something like that. maybe like 17 or whatever. Like yeah, just within the past handful of years.
Mm.
All right.
So
What you
yeah.
talked about? Now,
Yeah.
tell us what you got, Malina. Because now
Okay.
we're all interested.
Yeah, so I finished watching this one animation called Blue Eyed Samurai. It's like super new,
Oh yeah.
and I expect to like it at all because the thing with me is I'm very hard to please when it comes to like TV series and movies and
Sure.
stuff like that. I tend to be like really really picky. So like for me, the first episode like didn't hit, and I almost didn't like watch it afterwards, but like my boyfriend was the one who introduced it to me and was like, no no, you're gonna like this.
Yeah, yeah.
So but it's basically it's like a vengeance kind of like story. The main character is like out for vengeance. She's like a half Japanese, half white person, and there's like a lot of like racism because it's like a it was like it takes place in like 1600s like Japan or
Mhm.
whatever, like feudal era and stuff like that. So it's like there's like a lot of racism against like white people and stuff, and they're called like evil and all that. So she's like going on some vengeance quest to kill like the white men or whatever who lives like who's still like living in Japan or something. But it's really fun. It's a simple story, like kind of like it feels like a very simple sort of cartoon story or whatever, but I feel like it's got like some emotional depth to it, and I feel like I don't know if it's just like it feels like specifically like interesting to me or something, but like it's very like some of the action scenes like are very reminiscent of John Wick to me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ridiculous and like over the top, and just like the character is just too OP, you know? Um
It's vengeance,
and
man.
Yeah, so it's like I feel like the whole time like I'm watching it, I just keep on making these comparisons because like that's also like that vengeance story or revenge story. So it's got like that vibe, but like more cartoony, but still like pretty like graphic, so like not for kids. But yeah, I liked it a lot. I was really really surprised with it. And I kind of like part of the reason why I want to tell you guys is because like it just came out and it hasn't been like renewed yet, and I desperately want like a season
It
two.
hasn't?
It hasn't, yeah.
That's cause
Oh my god.
Netflix cut like a huge chunk of their anime division out.
Oh, that's right. I remember.
So
Yeah,
I bet you that's part of the negotiations now. Just
I
Netflix is
hope
just
they
dumb.
renew it because yeah, it's a really, really good series. It's a
I
Yeah.
really
mean, if
good
they don't
show.
renew it, I hope somebody else picks it up because it would be stupid not to renew it.
Yeah.
Like
I
I had to like curb myself from binging it. I
yeah, I
literally had to be
follow a
like,
lot
just
of the
one a night, man, just one a night. Slow down.
Yeah, yeah.
I follow a lot of the artists on LinkedIn, and it's been really interesting seeing a lot of the production stuff behind
Oh,
the scenes.
yeah.
Hmm.
I've heard so in the group we're in, one person complained that the only thing that annoyed them was the mispronouncing the occasional Japanese word, which they know how to pronounce it. They watched samurai movies like he does, and I said yes, because movies are always on point, right? And then their retort was, "I'm pretty sure the Japanese people in the Japanese samurai movies I watch pronounce the Japanese terms better than the most American voice actors." I'm like, right, because Japanese actors always say everything properly too. But I didn't say it. I was just like, I can tell I'm arguing with an idiot at this point, so I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut.
Yeah.
But I was like, nope, I'm not gonna be pulled into this dumb argument because I was just trying to make a joke, but you're turning this into something else. So,
Yeah.
but I didn't notice anything I don't know enough about it, but at the same time, I thought it was written well. I thought it was animated well. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, in the middle of that show coming out was when Netflix basically literally Netflix is like, "Oh, we have one of the most popular shows ever in the anime section of our company. Cool. Cut that department in half." It's like, who makes the call on that?
Yeah. Uh
Like, why would you?
I,
I
I'm
think the
really, I
problem is
am
also
really fed
people
up.
don't respect anime as much as they respect like they just think live action shows are better for some dumb reason. It's like you can do so much more with a
Yeah. I feel
anime.
like also with like the popularity of shows like more adult animation like Arcane, like and how that kind of
Oh,
like
yeah,
did.
that's so good.
Surprised that Netflix made that decision. Because I feel like especially because like anime and like all that like animation is so popular right now.
Hmm.
Like I mean like I feel like anime cons are more popular than like even like Comic Con or whatever. But I feel like animation in general, like, there's a reason why they're cropping up all over the country. So it's like it seems bizarre to me. And like all the people who like grew up on like anime and stuff like that, they're like growing up too. So it's like they're gonna want to keep watching, you
I mean,
know?
I grew up it's interesting to me because like a lot of the like I know a lot of the younger artists now, right? And I grew up watching stuff like Robotech and Ninja Scroll and like Fist of the North Star and Akira, like all these older.
Yeah.
They don't really make anime like that anymore. Some stuff comes close, but it's more like I don't know how to describe it.
Oh,
Like some of this newer
actually,
stuff you see, it's got a little bit of a more pep. Like I don't know how to describe it, but it's designed to make you like not be as serious, but also enjoy the ride because there is some serious stuff
right.
happening. Does that make sense? And I think that's
And
Yeah,
probably why it gets it right.
yeah, yeah. I think I know what you're angling at.
Like they just rebooted what is it? Trigoon, right? Which
Trigun, which
yeah,
actually
Trigun,
I
yeah, which
think
I saw years ago. And the original is still good.
I was gonna say the remake's much better. It
I
takes out a
haven't watched
lot
I
of
haven't watched the remake, so I can't really
it
but
trims a
they
lot
also
of
did that
fat.
with like
Trims a lot of fat.
didn't they reboot Full Metal?
yeah.
No, so that's an interesting case because like in that one, when they made the first Full Metal, the manga had only been done up to a certain point, and the manga
Oh.
artist told them like, "Hey, don't wait up for me. Just do your own thing." Because like
Oh.
I don't want you
Got
guys
a
to wait
weird
on
Game
me.
of
Like
Thrones situation.
yeah, like well, he said like don't even like I'm not even gonna give you notes of one on like where I'm going.
Sure.
Like just take your own thing on this, right? And so yeah, they did. And then some years later, once the manga was finally done, they made Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. And for the longest time, I think I mentioned this like earlier this year on a podcast where like I watched Brotherhood because
Hmm.
I had put it off for like ages because I thought it was going to be like the first anime, and it is night and day how different they are totally.
Okay.
Like this, the
I have not watched any of the reboots on these
Curious,
things.
which one do you like better?
What's that?
sorry.
Which
Which
one
one
do
do you
you like?
like better?
Oh, Brotherhood by like a country mile.
Okay.
For one thing, like the story makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, like the first one, it's okay. Like it's interesting in its own take of it. It's more like a character study piece. Whereas Brotherhood is like, no, no, this is like action. And there's an overarching like lore to this whole thing. Like, here's where we're going. Boom, boom, boom.
Dude, you almost just killed me by saying Country Mile. Every once in a while, Andrew will throw out this like old lingo like that, and I just could not stop coughing. I was like, there it is.
Yeah,
It
no,
just
it's yeah, Brotherhood was like at least for me, like way more enjoyable. And like I basically tore right through it.
okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Um,
be watching Brotherhood.
yeah, highly recommend it. Like, okay, like a point of comparison, I'm do you guys remember in the original one the whole Chimera storyline and stuff?
Yeah.
So that here's the thing, like that takes place like episode like 25 or 30 within the original anime.
A
So it's like
lot.
it's a lot of build up to it. In this new show, it takes in
This
Brotherhood, it
hurts.
takes place in episode 3 and it's
Yeah.
done in episode 3. It's like that.
So
they yeah.
My cousin just sent me the first three. That's why I remembered Full Metal. Have you ever
Gotcha.
read it?
Going back to adult animation though, like I can't remember if I mentioned it before on another podcast, or not, but I also watched Scavenger's Reign recently
Oh
on
yeah, you
HBO.
recommended that to me too.
Yeah, if you
It's I
like,
started at the first episode. It's weird.
oh, it's so weird, and I loved it.
Yeah.
It's yeah, if you like Mobius, this is
Yes.
basically someone said like, hey, let's take Mobius and make it an animated
Well,
series.
multiple people email me. They were like, or message me on Discord and stuff saying this resonates like something you would want to build out in your world.
Mm.
And I was like, well, I'll give it a whirl. I haven't found that with it yet, but I definitely have. It definitely is reading like Mobius, and I'm like, yeah, this is cool to see some animated stuff here.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a really, really solid series. Very mature, like very like just weird themes, weird like visual imagery to it and stuff.
Cool. Well,
That is
Yeah.
on HBO.
Yeah, it's on HBO.
yeah, that was
Okay, cool.
HBO. Yeah. All right, now we're definitely over time,
Yeah.
so we should wrap it out.
So where can
Well,
we find you, Melina?
You can find me on Instagram, void.bug, Etsy, just like voidbug, on Etsy. And then I have like a portfolio, which is literally just voidbug.net. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. And I can be found asidesart.com. Sign up for the newsletter or Patreon. Alan, where can we find you except for TikTok?
except for TikTok, I'm AllenPanakal Art on all socials. That guy's still squatting on my name, but I'm gonna get it back, man.
Unreal. It's unreal that he still is, to be honest.
I mean, all my trademarks and copyrights are going through, so once I have that, I'm gonna just go
You
ahead.
can just swoop right in. Yeah.
Well, it's like right now, it's like it comes down to like, is it worth? Like, I don't use TikTok enough to be like, I really need TikTok, but I'm highly considering setting up a TikTok shop on top of everything else just to see. And so for now on TikTok, I'm the real AllenPanakal Art because that's what my lawyer told me to change it to. If you go to AllenPanakal Art, it's not me because I'm asshat is squatting on my name. AllenPanakal Art on all socials, and ancientones.net is the main series. Um, you had a
Sounds good.
question?
Cool.
I was gonna ask, is he doing anything with it, or is it
No,
literally
there's
just
no videos
nothing?
there.
I
Initially,
guess
when I
like
saw it, there's a photo of a guy, or this is a photo of a person. I shouldn't say guy because I can't tell, but it's the individual has brown skin. They're holding a bouquet of flowers. So when I initially saw it, I thought it was one of my cousins in India just fucking with me. And I had messaged them to be like, which one of you guys is sitting on this? Give me my name back. And then they are
they were
following
all like, "What
one
are you talking
person.
about?"
That person who's got AllenPanakal Art is following one person who I believe is the person who's imitating me. I've
Mm.
messaged them to say, hey, what do you need to release the name? Because you're not using it. And basically, I can't message them because they're not following me, which I guess is a good policy to have. But I've had a connection through Dragon Con, through a bunch of shows. A friend of mine, he works for TikTok. He connected me to TikTok security. TikTok security initially told me if I could prove that my work is copyrighted, they would release the name. I proved it. Then they came back and said you have to prove that your stuff is trademarked. So I've got my trademarks ready to go. So it's a matter of how far do I want to take this right now. So because I basically have to have the lawyer email them, right, and be like, here's the trademarks. And then if they're like, now we need a blood sample or whatever, like, what's the next thing? So I do check it every once in a while just to see because there's zero videos there, so I don't understand why it hasn't just dropped
Yeah.
out from lack of use.
Mm-hmm.
It's my fucking
Yeah, I don't
name.
know.
So I've then like when not Mid Journey, but what's the one that came out? Mastodon. I gotta look at my phone real quick. Like Mastodon, Threads, Tumblr. There was another one, Blue Sky. Like I went in all of these and I just claimed my name right away, so I don't run into this bullshit again. even though I'm not using, like I always forget about Mastodon. But yeah, man, if you've got a name like Voidbug, go fucking claim it everywhere. Just sit on it because you have idiots who
Yeah.
just take your name and wait for you to.
Thing happened to me on TikTok too. Someone took Voidbug.
Really?
Instagram
See?
too. So like that's why on Instagram I'm void.bug, and also same on TikTok as well. I don't, and they don't do anything with it either. It's like, okay, I
I
don't know.
can't. Yeah, like I can't
That's
tell if
always
it's
annoying.
um, like I can't tell if it's a bot sitting on it or if it's like an idiot. You know, like. But either way, yeah. Void dot bug. I see you. I mean, you got 31,000 followers, though, so rock on.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for being on the show. We'll
Hmm.
definitely get you back on
Yeah,
when you
thank you
start
so
working
much.
on either your book or your Oracle deck.
Yeah, please do. Thanks for having me.
Um,
Yeah, great having you on.
and then I will definitely. I don't know who our next guest is because it's been very random. Um, this
Random, and
episode,
then the holidays are coming up, so things are helter skelter.
yeah, it's gonna be all over the place until we get it back together. So, all right, I'm gonna take us offline. Give me a second.